I'll forget this game for a long time. Well, I'm not surprised. It's the only one you've won.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the two mics on the warm-up right here on TalkSport. The football world is still in shock at the horror injury Seamus Coleman suffered thanks to an X-rated tackle by Wales' Neil Taylor. He's having surgery to repair his badly broken leg in Dublin today. We'll talk to Rob Earnshaw about the game last night, and we'll get the advice of an expert on the break itself to see just how long it will take Seamus to repair it and to possibly get back to playing football for Everton. Also, we're looking ahead to the start of the Formula 1 season down in Australia tomorrow morning, and we'll have a one-minute moan as well. Plenty to moan about this weekend. 08717 22 3344. You're listening to the two mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics on the warm-up. There's lots and lots of football to talk about, loads of stories in the paper. It's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike Parry. Very good morning to Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, MG. And I have to say, to see that shocking break last night.
Yeah.
And you know what? You can't tell how serious it is on television. Now, this
well,
is...
it happens very quickly, doesn't it?
Exactly. You're absolutely right. Now, this is where newspapers really come into their own, okay? I heard Georgie talking earlier about, he found it offensive having the broken leg picture on the back.
Yeah.
In fact, that picture should be on billboards around the sporting world because it shows you what happens if things get out of hand, and this got completely out of hand. Now,
and interesting to hear Perry Groves as well saying that he believes that the tackle was deliberately supposed to do harm.
Well, this has put, the butter on the bread of my argument that something
the butter
serious...
on the bread?
Yeah. Something serious...
How about the meat on the bones?
Don't worry about that. Listen, something serious has got to happen to the perpetrator of this terrible offence because... The point is, if Perry is a professional footballer is saying, oh no, there was intent in the boy's eyes as he went towards him, he stopped short of saying, no, he meant to crack his leg in two, but he said he meant to do him harm.
Well, I think you can't
he's given up on the ball and he was going for the player.
Well, I think he has the expertise to be able to say that and to make that judgment.
Yes.
What I'm saying, and as I said to him, is that you can't judge that he wanted to break the guy's leg, but you can certainly judge that he wanted to hurt him, as Perry said. So while you can't necessarily sort of divine intent by looking in somebody's eyes, surely they could have somebody like an ex-professional player in some kind of a panel to say, look, in my judgment, this guy was deliberately trying to hurt him.
I mean...
And therefore, this is why it should be a retrospective punishment.
Well, I totally agree. Now, I said earlier when we were talking to Georgie and Perry, if you can put a cap on somebody's head and get their thought patterns as to what they're thinking, which, by the way, you can.
Well, you can't, can you? That's a ridiculous idea.
That technology exists.
But they're not going to do that. We're not in some kind of James Bond movie, right? We're in the reality world of football.
Yes, but we have to do it for the future. The thing is that there is fantastic technology has been developed to help disabled people.
Well, it's not going to involve wearing a cap, though, is it?
Yes. If you'd hear me out, please. If you'd hear me out to help...
I fear that I should not hear you out, but I will.
To help disabled people that thought patterns and brain waves can actually make things happen. Because disabled people who are unable to use their limbs and all that will, within a few years, be able to make things happen.
But that's not the same thing, is it?
Well, it's not the same thing, but surely if we've got that technology now to help disabled people, you can adapt it to this sort of incident and extract the thoughts out of somebody's head as to what their intent was when that happened.
Well, I don't think you can, because that means going back into their thought process from some hours before.
OK, well, I think science will one of these days...
I know what you're getting at.
Yes,
I know what you're getting at, but what you really mean to be able to do is to try and divine something from the time, actually.
Exactly.
By some process of examination of the eyes or... process of examination of the body language or something like that.
Again, this is the point. This is why I'm standing up this morning for the still photographers who serve the national newspapers, and in particular the lad who took the pictures, which are on pages 6 and 7 of the Times, because he has captured it. What this guy has done, and I'm not sure who the photographer is, to be honest, but what he's done is he's got a motor drive, right, and it's, how many frames do they do a second? Like 100 or something like that. I mean, whatever it is, it's massive. And he's pulled one out at the exact moment that Taylor, the aggressor, his leg's gone into Seamus Coleman's leg.
Well, what happens nowadays, right? And I'm sure you know, but you may be forgotten, is they have motor drives on these cameras, and they're basically they're continuously taking pictures.
I said he switched the motor drive on. And that's 100 frames a second.
But it just continually takes them.
You continue to take. Now, if you get all that back, it's not just one still print. It's literally thousands of still prints. Do you know?
Well, you could almost run and make an animated movie of it.
You could. I totally agree. You could, and then you can see in the face of the aggressor, Mr. Taylor, that what was the intent and what was in his eyes and all that kind of stuff. By the way, you know how to portray somebody falling asleep at Wimbledon, don't you?
What do you mean?
You put the motor drive on.
Oh, what you mean? You just get them when they're blinking.
Exactly, exactly. For 4 seconds, and when they blink,
you're
you
not
just take that
suggesting
frame
that's
out.
what people do.
Well, unscrupulous people do. But anyway, getting back to...
how would you know how to do that? Are you one of those unscrupulous people?
It was part of the dark arts I learnt, which I dismissed as...
Have you ever ordered somebody to get a picture of somebody to make it look as if they were asleep?
Never. I've always ordered people not to do that sort of thing. But I know it's available to those who are less scrupulous than me.
Why do I not believe any of that?
Well, you should. Now, the point is that the actual picture of the broken leg is shocking and horrible, and we're going to talk to an expert in sporting injuries later on in the show.
We are. Ben Dinnery's coming on the show.
But to any normal person, you have to think, how can that leg ever be put back together again in one piece and also serve an international footballer?
And if you think of people whose legs have been broken in the past,
yes.
I mean, you got Ramsey, who had a broken leg, you got Eduardo, who had a broken leg, and they come back, and there's always a bit of trepidation, I think, about the way that they then play football and the way, and it might disappear over time.
Yes.
But Seamus Coleman, when he comes back, will not be the same player he was before this incident.
Well, how do you know that?
Because eventually it's bound to have. I mean, I'm sure Ben Dinnery will tell us this. It will have a psychological effect on you. We're also going to talk to Rob Earnshaw. Yes, it absolutely does. Eduardo, for example, you saw in the way that he went into the challenges.
Yes.
That at the beginning, when he first came back to play, he was very, very sort of leery of getting involved in a very heavy challenge.
I think it depends on the mentality of the footballer, and Seamus Coleman is particularly mentally strong.
Well, he is, but at the same time, he's got to remember that his livelihood is his legs.
Yes.
I mean, he can't come straight back and get another broken leg.
Yeah, but his livelihood is also making key tackles at the key time, or otherwise he's no good as a defender, is he?
That's what I'm saying. And so the effects of this kind of challenge and this kind of injury can be very, very devastating.
What was very interesting to me was I saw a tweet from Peter Reid, one of my sort of boyhood heroes. In fact, I was older than a boy when he was a hero. I was a man, actually.
Were you?
Yeah. But
well, so you say.
But Peter tweeted out and said, because of course Peter's a former great Evertonian, won 2 titles with us, and said, it's heartbreaking and all that, but James will come back stronger. Now, we've sent a message out to Peter, so Pete, if you're listening, please give us a call, because the reason is that Peter Reid broke both of his legs in the early part of his career before he came to Everton, and that's why sort of a lot of people have given up on him and say, well, he'll never be the player that he was. But he was. He was even better after 2 broken legs, came back and became an award-winning footballer and an England international. So you can come back and restore a career.
It can be done, but I mean, my fear is that, it doesn't happen all the time, and it's certainly not a guarantee. Steptoe has tweeted at the 2 mics, he says, perhaps Taylor should be banned until Coleman is fit again. Now, that's an interesting way of dealing with it.
It's interesting,
once again,
that could be Christmas.
Well, you would have to. Well, it could be much after Christmas. I mean, it could be a lot longer than that.
I would imagine it'd be about Christmas.
You never really know. The point is that if you can't prove the intent of Taylor that he intended to do Coleman harm, it's very, very difficult to ban him for any longer than the normal sort of 3 matches, isn't it?
Well, yes, I think you're right there. What I was going to say is, with Perry being the first professional footballer we've spoken to about it, so convinced that it was malcontent, should they not set up a panel of former players and former referees?
Well, this is what I was saying.
To examine the whole thing and then come to a conclusion, because that's the only way you can.
Well, I think the real difficulty with this
is... It's like a jury, really,
It is, but the real difficulty with all of this, as you can imagine, is agents, is the money men, is lawyers, because all of these footballers now can afford to get their own lawyers. I don't think it's going to be very long before we start to see legal challenges made to, say, for example, red cards. Because players, for example, who are maybe getting bonuses for a number of games that they're supposed to be playing, players that might be getting money or appearance money who are banned from playing a particular game, I don't think it's going to be very long before they hire a lawyer at something like £7,000 a day to go before the FA and to defend them and to appeal the case in a legal manner and say that if you do this, we will sue you for damages.
Yeah, well,
and I think that's very far away.
Well, I don't think we're very far away from that already. I mean, quite often now players are represented by barristers at hearings.
Yes, they are. But what I'm saying is we haven't yet seen a footballer take the FA or any administration body to a legal case to say you can't do this to me.
I think peer pressure on him from the profession would heavily weigh against that, wouldn't it? Because it would bring football to a grinding halt if it was locked in legal cases in court all the time.
Well, what it might, though,
so UEFA and FIFA need to get smart on that in case it does happen.
But what it might do, of course, is put the frighteners on them to the point where they will never, ever try and ban players for intentional dirty tricks.
The boy who never grew up.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics on the warm-up. We've got an extra hour today, which is always a good thing, because it means that we've got more room to squeeze in more of your cobleros. As Derek in Pencoed says, why is it called the 1 minute moan? When Porky spends the whole show moaning. It's a very good point, that.
Not at all, not at all.
And also, I've got a couple of very good tweets here as well,
Excellent.
with regard to the injury that we were talking about. Because Andrew says this: how can TalkSport have people who have never played the game spout so much rubbish? They don't realise Taylor has had a bad break himself. Andrew, we were discussing...
Yeah, we did realise that. I realised that.
Also, we were discussing the comments of Perry Groves, who was a former professional footballer, who said that he believed that this was an intentional foul intended to hurt Seamus, and it was a deliberate move. So we are simply discussing that. We are not making that judgment, although I think it certainly doesn't look good, to be honest.
And also, this whole thing, you can't talk about football unless you've played it. Well, I'm sorry, most of the Western world's media who write about football haven't played it.
Yes.
And can I tell you, you need an analytical brain to examine exactly what's going on. Sometimes the people who write about football are more equipped or better equipped to do that than the professionals themselves, because they spend a lifetime doing it.
Exactly right. I mean, you might as well say that, you shouldn't have theatre critics discussing what's on
unless
in the
they've been an actor.
Unless they've been an actor, which is nonsense. Josh says this: who will replace Coleman for the rest of the season due to his injury? Presumably that would be at Everton. What's the answer to that?
Well, I don't know, and I'm not going to speculate on it, because we've had other injuries with people like Oviedo, and defenders, young defenders being drafted into the squad. So I would rather not wander into that territory and leave it to Mr. Koeman.
And let's talk about some of the other players, because people have actually started tweeting in about this. JS says this. Jack says, what about Luke Shaw? He has not been the same since. His leg was broken.
Do you know what? That is a great example of a young player whose career was cut short by injury and who's not managed to come back from it. But but to be honest, obviously we haven't got expert medical knowledge. I think Luke Shaw's...
But we're going to be talking to somebody with expert medical knowledge.
We certainly are. I think the problem was that Luke Shaw couldn't actually get back into the reckoning with Jose Mourinho because the timing of the injury was so bad.
Yeah.
Whether or not he's actually lost half a pace or he's lost, an inch of his leg or something like that in terms of his running ability.
Well, I don't think he's lost an inch of his leg.
You can.
Well, yes, you can, but I don't think in his case. I don't think in his case he has. Otherwise, I think we would know about it.
You can. It can displace the body. In terms of the length of the
less
two
you
legs.
say about the medical expertise, the better. I think Freddie
that's right.
says this: the Coleman injury reminds me of David Bust's career ending
I remember that.
in '96.
That was shocking.
I hope he has a better outcome and gets back playing again. And Jason says Brian Oviedo also wasn't the same after he broke his leg against Stevenage.
Exactly.
So he's saying, the balance of opinion seems to be saying that if you have a broken leg, you are not the same player. Hell says
or you might not be.
It took Ramsey a season to get over it. You could see it, and Eduardo was never the same.
Well, Buste wasn't that the one that Roy Keane deliberately? No, was it? No, it wasn't. I'm sorry, it wasn't.
No, it was against Stevenage.
No.
I'm sorry, that was Oviedo.
No, Buste was on the edge of the area, and I remember the picture so graphically. His leg literally went to a right angle, David Buste, and he was never able to do it again.
Yeah. Now, what about this from Pete?
Roy Keane did somebody's knee, didn't he?
He did, yeah. It was the Scandinavian player, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Which was all talked about in books and things.
Right,
Pete says this: if intent is proved, then surely we're looking at a GBH or an ABH charge. Well, that then starts to get into... Well, no, because that then starts to get into very difficult territory. I mean, Duncan Ferguson famously had to go to jail, didn't he, in Scotland?
Yeah.
Because he was judged to have made a sort of a grievous bodily harm headbutt on somebody, right?
And that was a complaint for an off-duty policeman sitting in the stand. It was ridiculous. No, look, I would never argue in defence of bringing the criminal law onto a football pitch. But what I'm saying is, the point you've made is, if that was intentional and so reckless that he broke another man's leg and possibly ends his career, of course it's grievous bodily harm.
I don't think you can do that.
And the football authorities...
I think that would be wrong.
The football authorities then have to decide internally. It's a bit like a court-martial.
No, it's not.
With the military, they have to deal with their own profession.
Yes, but you can't have it. You can't have the police and the judiciary getting involved.
No, I said I don't want them involved.
No, that's what I'm saying. So you can't be talking about grievous bodily harm or actual bodily harm, because that wouldn't be able to be proven, because it is not the same situation when you're playing on a field of sport as if you are on a street.
I agree.
Simple.
But we are back to the argument that we both agreed is a good one, and that is, why not set up a jury of football experts?
I agree with that.
To look at, literally frame by frame, framed the intent of Neil Taylor, the reaction of Seamus Coleman, and then internally football, as I say, just like a courts martial that deals with matters internally in the military, there should be a football court to say you're banned for life because we can't have you doing that.
The difficulty is, though, would that actually render you with a proper verdict? Because you might find that, for example, as much as Perry Grove says that was deliberate, in my view, you might get somebody else, Tony Cascarino, sitting there saying, in my view, it wasn't. Yeah,
I totally agree. But if you had a jury on the same basis of any other jury, and you've got a majority view, the other thing is, look...
But that would be unfair as well, wouldn't it? Because a majority view, again, if it's in the case of a criminal case, then that's fine. We know what that system is. If it's about preventing somebody from making their livelihood pay, then that's a very dangerous area.
It's a dangerous area, but something's got to be done about it, and we mustn't, go down the cul-de-sac of saying, well, there's nothing you can do about it. Something should be done about it. The other thing is, of course, Neil Taylor has not yet been asked whether he did it deliberately or not, has he?
Well, I don't know that.
Well, he hasn't publicly... There's been no public announcement about whether he's been asked if he did it deliberately or not.
What we don't know is whether he's been asked that question. He may have been asked that question by his own coach. He may have been asked that question by a couple of other players.
Well, his own coach, Chris Coleman, said what all managers say when one of their players commits an horrendous foul. He's not that sort of lad.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is a cop-out, because that is...
Well, why wouldn't you take Chris Coleman's word for that?
I will take Chris Coleman's word for the fact that, generally speaking, he regards Neil Taylor as not that sort of lad. However, Chris Coleman is bright enough to know, and as a former professional footballer himself, who again had terrible injuries, both on and off the pitch, he will know whether there was intent in what the boy did. And Chris Coleman has an obligation, as the Welsh national coach, to further investigate.
Yes.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
OK. Yeah. Well, there's going to be more in this story. I'm absolutely certain of it. Moore says this. Love it. Start with Coleman's broken leg, and Mike Parry ends the conversation with mind control. Hashtag Jedi mind trick plank.
Well, it's all connected. It's all connected. Don't be trite about it. What I'm trying to say is the only way to get to the bottom of this is to find out exactly what was in Neil Taylor's mind.
Yes.
Sorry, why are you sniggering? Why are you always sniggering?
Yeah, because
I'm making great points.
You're about putting caps on people's heads and delving into their brains.
You can do it.
No, you can't. Only in your twisted
Mate,
form
you mustn't
of Fleet
say
Street
that
world.
Because you're talking nonsense.
No, you can't.
For people who are disabled...
You keep saying that. It's not the same thing.
I don't care. You
don't care?
You can do it, and therefore that technology can be developed
you can't.
into the area of sport.
Rubbish.
Why do you say it can't? You don't know.
No,
you're not that bright.
I do know.
You're not
very
a scientist.
bright. No,
you're
I'm very
scientist.
bright, actually. But the point is you cannot delve into somebody's brain. There is not the methodology or the technology to do it and work out what they were thinking 20 minutes ago. You can't do it.
I'm saying that technology must be about to be discovered.
Oh, it must be about to be discovered.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
2 minutes ago, you said it was possible.
I'm saying that people now who are disabled can make things happen by thought, by brainwaves. Therefore, you must be able to retrospectively seek what was happening in a brain 24 hours ago.
Davey says this. Porky's telling us about the dark arts he used to employ in Fleet Street. For heaven's sake, show someone like they're asleep.
Show someone what?
Why would you? Well, that's what you were saying.
What?
Why would you want to take a picture of somebody to make it look like they're sleeping when they're not?
Well,
who cares?
No, people do. People do. Malicious people do. If they don't like a cabinet minister, they wait until he closes his eyes and then take a picture of it.
OK, all right. Anyway, we've got lots more to do and an extra hour in which to do it. Luckily, this is Talk Sport.
You and I are not the same. You say you like the sun, I like the rain. So before we go, do it all again. You better catch your own train.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics on the warm-up. We've got loads coming up, including Rob Earnshaw, and, of course, we're going to be talking to an expert in leg injuries, broken legs in particular, to see how long it's going to take Seamus Coleman to recover. Paul says this. I think it will only be a matter of time before a player ends up in court, but proving intent will be difficult. Steptoe says, I'm sure Paul Elliott took legal action against Dean Saunders in the 1990s for a tackle.
I think that was settled out of court. I think it was intentional.
So it didn't actually reach the courtroom itself, did it?
I don't know, to be honest, but I do not remember. I don't remember a settlement in court itself.
Yeah. Here's a tweet from Jim who says, no technology will ever be able to say what Mike Parry was thinking 20 minutes ago, because you can't remember that yourself.
Sorry, you've just pricked my main. Gordon Watson was a footballer for Sheffield Wednesday and Southampton.
What?
He's known as Flash.
Gordon Watson?
Yeah, Gordon Watson, yeah.
Yeah, I know Gordon Watson.
Yeah, and what happened was he got his leg broken, right,
Yeah.
very badly. He actually took legal action and he employed lawyers for him. He got a very big settlement. I don't want to say how big it was, but he got a
Well,
settlement.
I don't want to give away anything that's confidential on the radio.
No, exactly.
Thank you for
And it now represents precedent law in the British legal system.
Precedent law?
Yeah, it does, yeah. It's a precedent. If you go to the High Court now and you've got such a case, they say the case of Watson versus whatever, and it was settled out of court because he was going to sue.
Well, why is it precedent if it was settled out of court?
It was precedent because of the what they managed to prove was intent
No,
in that particular case.
I don't think it'd be precedent if it wasn't actually a case.
No, it was, honestly. It's used as case law now. You'll find it in legal textbooks.
Really?
Yeah.
I doubt that very much.
Well, you might doubt it, but I can tell you it's true.
All right, well, I'll look it up.
Go and look
Don't
it
forget
up,
that
and
I
when you
studied
find
law.
it, you can come back and apologise tomorrow, okay?
I studied law, unlike you.
Yeah, of course you did.
Yeah, I did. I got A-level law, actually. Thank you very much
yeah.
indeed.
My commitment, you're an embarrassment. Yes, an embarrassment, a living endorsement. The intention that you have booked was an intention that was overlooked.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. Jonathan has tweeted us to say, let the traffic folk know the reason for the very heavy M60 traffic is the Manchester Bike Show, which is going on at Event City this weekend. So if you're heading up that way, then there is apparently very bad traffic, and that is, of course, the reason. So thank you for letting us know.
Is that a push bike or a motorbike?
I imagine it would be a motorbike show, I would think. The
yeah.
Manchester Bike Show. We went to a bike show once
Yeah,
in
we certainly
Birmingham.
did in Birmingham, yeah.
That was quite an eye-opener.
Rode around on little bikes and crashed into straw bales.
We did. I seem to remember you pushed me off mine.
No, I didn't. No,
There's
no.
video evidence of that.
No, you just weren't as good at steering your bike as
No.
me.
I seem to remember you pushed me into the hay bale.
The day that we are talking about bike shows being pedal bike shows, then we know that the cyclists have taken over the world. They've already tried to take over the roads. I hope they're not going to take over the world.
Yes, well, I mean, there are people who always respond to your complaints about bikes and say that it's not just a problem in London, it is a problem, in fact, all over the country.
Yes.
And there's lots of people, actually, interestingly enough, talking about the various injuries that various footballers have had and how some of them have recovered better than others. Henrik Larsson is being mentioned. Ross Barkley, of course, broke a leg, seems to have come back stronger. So there's lots and lots of sort of incontrovertible evidence.
He was very young, actually,
that it
Ross
depends,
Barkley.
yeah, that it depends really on exactly what... exactly what sort of comeback time they've got, maybe what level they're playing at, when they. I mean, will Seamus be able to come back and play, first team football straight away? Will he have to go into the reserves or what?
The danger Seamus Coleman's got, which obviously he'll be thinking about lying in bed now, and he's, by the way, a fantastic servant to Everton Football Club. We bought him for £60,000 from Sligo Rovers, and he's turned into, an international captain and a terrific footballer. But the problem is, with the Ronald Koeman revolution going on at Everton, and if Seamus is now out until beyond next Christmas, then you've got two transfer windows between now and then.
Yeah.
And, the old adage, I'm afraid, really applies. Don't get ill and stay off work, because when you come back, everything will have changed.
Well, that is a problem.
And it doesn't matter what job in the world you're in, that sort of thing happens.
And especially between now and the end of the summer transfer window, Everton might look like a completely different team if Lukaku goes as well.
Yes.
Rob Earnshaw is a former Wales international, of course. He would have watched that game last night. Let's find out from him what he made of that tackle himself. Rob, a very good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Hi, Rob. Very well, thank you.
Very well. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. I mean, first of all, what did you make of the tackle itself? We had some conversations earlier on this morning with Perry Groves, former Arsenal player who you might know. He said he thought the tackle looked deliberate, like the player wanted to hurt Seamus.
I mean, if you're thinking of the worst case scenario and kind of, not realizing what's actually happening, then maybe. But to be honest with you, listen, I thought, I'm ex-teammate of Neil Taylor. It was a red, for sure. It was a red card. I can vouch for him because I actually know him very well, and his mentality is he's aggressive and he's a competitor. But number one, he doesn't go out to hurt anyone. So that's the case with him. So of course he didn't mean it. You don't go out there. I don't think maybe I've met about 4 or 5 people maybe in my whole career in 20 years that probably mean tackles like that. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of them were maybe on me.
Well, Rob, hang on. Before we go any further, if he didn't mean it, then he must be hopelessly reckless as a footballer. I mean, I'm looking at a picture here where both his feet are off the ground, his right leg is extended, it's made contact with Coleman's leg, which is now snapped in half, and the look on Taylor's face is one of sheer have a bit of that. I mean, if he didn't mean it, then he shouldn't be on a football field anyway because he's very dangerous.
Well, not really, because it's football, I'm afraid football is bad judgment, it's mistakes, it's slightly late challenges, it's a goal that's not being given or a mistake from a referee, and that's football. So you're never going to get away from that because it's human nature. So with Neil Taylor, what I'm talking about is in the moment of a game, it's a battle, two teams going at it, nation v nation, and in a moment of, I can maybe win the ball, maybe I can't, he's coming the other way, bang, and it happens. And that's how quick it happens. So that's what I'm talking about, is that moment. So you got to understand the moment of within the battle. You're not watching as a fan and you're in the stand and kind of relaxed and stood there and just watching a game. You're in the battle of, okay, right, maybe I can win the ball, maybe I'm not, I'm too late, bang, it happens.
So, I mean, as far as we were also talking about maybe the need or the necessity for a sort of panel of players to look at things like this to see whether there was any intent. You're saying it's so rare that it's probably not worth doing that.
Well, it's not, yeah. I mean, what it would be, first of all, we got to, I think, pay tribute to Seamus Coleman a bit, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery, because that's number one. Because we very conscious of that, and he's the most important part, because he's the one who's broke his leg here. So we wish him a speedy recovery. That's number one. And Neil Taylor would be the first one to probably contact Seamus and wish him the best, because he'll know straight away, because he'll be conscious of that. So I think what you say about Neil Taylor kind of being reckless or whatever, every footballer is reckless in some way if it's a case of timing or bad timing or something like that. So I think number one, it's Seamus Coleman and best wishes to him. Number two, you know what, I think it was the case of one player going one way and the force of one player going one way and the force of one player going the other. And they've clashed. And it was pretty much as simple as that. You don't need panels. You don't need, to really, break it down scientifically, because you could see it. It's just that simple. What you have is one has had bad timing, and the other one's, going full force, which is Shaman going the other way, and it was a bad tackle. But that's just what it is, because of the battle of football.
Well, Rob, how do footballers resolve this sort of thing between themselves? Because there's 22 men on that pitch, and for instance, when Seamus Coleman was being taken off last night, Ashley Williams, who is his teammate at Everton, leaned over and said, "Are you all right?" How when one footballer on one side has badly crippled a player on another side, some people think it's intent. How do those two guys resolve it to be facing up to each other possibly in the future as professional footballers? Are grudges held, or is it simply taken on board as part of the game or something?
I mean, generally, you understand once you step on a football pitch and it's a battle, you're going at it. So there's a certain understanding as a professional that you're going on there and accidents might happen and things might happen depending on challenges or whatever. What you never ever want is that intent, which it's extremely rare, if anything. And I know, especially even more now, is definitely more intense, maybe 10 to 15 years ago, because I've had it. I've had people come in, flying in, trying to break my leg because I'm too quick.
And why do you think that's changed then?
I think it's because of the amount of rules that we brought in. Right. Because the amount of the tackles, everything is a red card or yellow card, or it's very much gone so much the other way about less contact, that the mentality is also changed. That's why I think there's so much less of that intent. And I can definitely, I know Neil Taylor, because he definitely didn't mean it, because like I said, that's his mentality would be now, okay, and probably the whole Wales team would be feeling for Seamus right now. Yeah. Yes, in the moment it's a battle, but I know even myself, I wasn't at the game, but I watched it obviously, and I'm feeling for Seamus Coleman. So I know with the mentality of the Wales boys, in the moment it's a battle. Right now they're straight away feeling for Seamus and understanding what's happened. So that's why you can kind of, it's human nature after the game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the moment, it's a battle, but it's human nature. After the game, you're thinking about it. You understand what's happened.
Yeah.
And it's devastating for him.
And what about the recovery time? Because we've been talking about some players have recovered and had fantastic careers after an injury like this. Others have never quite been the same. What does that depend on?
And the biggest one is, number one, is how bad is the break? Is it clean? Because I've had a broken leg. When I was 15, 16, I broke my leg, and it was clean. I recovered from it, so I've had that myself. So I can totally understand of the leg break. We've had Aaron Ramsey, who's a friend of mine. I know him.
Yeah.
He recovered. He's probably one of the recent ones who's kind of recovered very well from it. Number one, it depends on how clean the break is. I understand I think he's broke it in 2 places. So you really feel for that one.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the good thing, I think everybody fears the leg break as a bad injury for sure. Listen, 100% for sure. But I think a lot more people really recover from broken legs than the worst ones, or the worst ones at professional fields is one of the ones of the knee.
Yes, exactly.
Because
the cruciate.
Yeah, because the cruciate, the ACLs.
Yeah.
Those ones are for me the one of the worst ones because of you're not guaranteed to feel strong enough afterwards. And even if you do, you feel great, brilliant, and then you do it again. I've had a friend of mine who's done it, I think 3 times now in a row.
It could just go. It's so susceptible. Rob, because time is a bit short, can we look at the prospects for Wales now in this group, please?
Yeah, do you know what? We're halfway, and I think they're in a good place because they've not hit top form yet. We've drawn, we're not lost, which is the great thing. So okay, number one, you can definitely compete. And the one thing they need to do is start turning those draws into wins because they're still touching with the Republic. Serbia, great. Serbia, very, very good. I think we need a minimum draw, but ideally, I think our next one, which is a killer, really, because now we miss Gareth Bale against Serbia. So we need to try and beat Serbia without Gareth Bale, and we're definitely capable of it.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid you need to get a couple of wins in the next 2 or 3 games, I think.
Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the 2 Mics on the warm-up. We've got lots coming up in this hour. We're going to be talking to Peter Conradi over at the Sunday Times to find out what's coming up in his paper over the course of the next 24 hours. Also, Ben Dinnery's going to join us a little bit later on. He's from physioroom.com. He'll tell us exactly what Seamus Coleman's going to have to go through to recover and to get himself back on the football pitch playing for Everton, possibly before the start of next season or possibly before the start of next year. We shall see. 08717 22 3344. You're listening to the 2 Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. It's an old song, isn't it?
Well, it might be an old song, but I mean, it was written by a man who's now an old rocker.
Is he?
Because that's Elton John, of course.
How old is Elton John?
Well, it's his birthday today.
Oh, is it?
And I believe he's 70 years of age. So I'm
70?
double-checking that on my magic computer machine.
It's hard to imagine Elton John
70,
being 70, isn't it?
Well, it's hard to imagine any rock stars getting to those sort of ages because, of course, we remember them when we were delinquents like they were.
Yeah.
But to get
Some
to
of us still are.
I'll tell you what I find absolutely astonishing is that I remember seeing an interview with David Furnish, who's his partner in life, and he said that he misses him because he's still away such a lot. At 70 years of age, the guy is still touring.
Well, he also,
I think he's just
not
signed up for a new season in Las Vegas.
I was going to say, does he not do like long sort of periods of time in Vegas where he doesn't? Because a lot of people that get to a certain stage in life, they don't actually want to tour, but they still want to be on stage. So they let everybody else come to them, which I suppose is more sensible.
I totally agree. Some pop stars will always want to be on stage, like the Stones, like Elton John, and like Paul McCartney. But some pop stars, and the man who shall not be named, John Lennon, didn't want to go on stage, and that's why the Beatles
got
broke
fed up
up.
with
I mean,
it.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But it is astonishing the energy this guy's still got, and the things that he's done in his life, the way he's turned his life around, and he must be, without a shadow of a doubt, I don't know what the figures are, one of the most prolific singer-songwriters in the history
he must
of music.
be. Yeah, he must be.
You think what a back catalogue he's got if he goes on. Supposing he was just doing suddenly, I don't know, I'll do a concert for charity for 1 hour.
Yeah.
He'd have like hundreds of songs.
That's the other thing that
on.
they do, a lot of these guys as well, isn't it? They get these very, very wealthy people
Absolutely.
throwing sort of private birthday parties for their daughters or
Absolutely.
their wedding for their oldest son, and they get people like Elton John and Ellie Goulding to come and play.
Yeah, I think we should try a bit of that.
You think we should?
Put ourselves up for rent,
Bit of private sort of partying.
Well, all I'm thinking of is that there must be there must be
Well,
followers.
we're not quite in the £1 million category.
Well,
though.
I'm asking for £1 million, but there must be followers of ours out there, who are quite wealthy, have done quite well in life, who've got a son or a daughter coming up for a marriage, and who'd like a 1 hour.
Do you not think you've actually extended the portfolio of money making enough at the moment? I mean, people are going to start asking whether you are actually just a money making enterprise.
No, that's not
and
it
you're
at all.
no longer a radio presenter.
No, I like to spread munificence, and if anybody's out there got a spare few £1,000 that they need to get rid of one Saturday evening,
he's got about 2 spare hours left in this year.
Now then,
so if you want to hire him, you better get in quick.
Now then, what do you think about the report this morning, which says Mauricio Pochettino met Barcelona president Josep Maria Bartomeu this week?
Did he?
Yeah, but hang on. This is the punchline. But Tottenham insist there is no need to panic.
Really?
I'm telling you what, if Mr. Koeman had met Josep Maria Bartomeu this week, I would be panicking.
Yes. Do you think there's any chance that this secret meeting, which suddenly became a public knowledge, was arranged by perhaps the agent of Mr. Pochettino, who's maybe looking for a few extra quid to keep him at Spurs? I don't want to be too cynical about these things.
Didn't Mr. Pochettino meet some other club president at the end of last season? Was it Real Madrid or
was it not? Did he not meet with? Does he not met with Abramovich as well at some point or other?
I think it was something like that. I can't remember who it is.
Or maybe Real Madrid, maybe.
Our researcher will find out. But I do find that astonishing. And do you know what? I find it astonishing that these guys even enter into those meetings because they know the speculation. It will fill.
Yeah, but that's why I would suggest it might be that it was done deliberately. Because, I mean, if you want to have a secret meeting with somebody, right, you can have a secret meeting. Yes. You know how to do that. I know how to do that. Yes. And I'm sure Mauricio Pochettino knows how to do that.
Yes.
But if you want the secret meeting to look secret, except the details of it will get out, you also know how to do that as well.
I totally agree with you.
Well, obviously, wasn't there an England situation as well when you were at the FA where somebody was seen having a secret meeting with... wasn't it Sven having a secret meeting with Chelsea or something like that?
I left the FA, but Sven pitched up at Mr. Abramovich's home in the Boltons or somewhere like that, one of London's most expensive addresses, which is permanently patrolled by the paparazzi looking for rich people,
especially when Sven's PRs tell them he's coming.
Yeah, exactly. As a calling card and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I was told last summer, right, and I have no evidence whatsoever to back this up, that actually Pochettino was in line to take over at Real Madrid.
Right.
Perhaps not last summer, but next summer, because they thought that Zinedine Zidane was going to fail the crucial test, i.e. second season test.
Right.
But he's actually not done too badly.
He's done all right, hasn't he? Yeah.
So whether or not Poch has swiveled his sights elsewhere, I don't know.
Well, I suppose as well, if you're in that business, I mean, you need to keep all your options open because, I mean, as well as we know, Mr. Levy at Spurs, I mean, he could turn around at the end of this season and say to Pochettino, well, you know what, we're going to look for a better manager to take us further into the Champions League because you obviously aren't good enough to do that. And even though he's had a successful season, he could be out on his backside.
It could be.
So you've got to keep your options open.
It could be.
I mean, you used to do that in the business of newspapers that we were in. I mean, you'd always be... Well, everybody would. I mean, you'd always be talking to people. You would never leave yourself isolated to the point where you were unemployable by some other company. You would always be sort of...
well, I was in constant demand, but I mean, I turned most of the offers down.
Which was fortunate, really.
Yes, it was.
But that's what I'm saying. But I mean, in that business, like football, you were always talking to people. So if you knew that there was a sort of an option coming up, you might have a word with somebody. I think it's very sensible.
What I've always found odd about football is that the lack of ruthlessness in going for people when they're available.
Yeah.
So when Jose Mourinho was available for a year, I mean, crikey, I wouldn't have hung around thinking, well, our manager doesn't retire until next year if I was Arsenal or 2 years or 3 years.
Right.
I wouldn't have even waited, actually, for Sir Alex Ferguson to retire once Jose Mourinho was available, because I think you've got to be... They're very ruthless on the continent when they get rid of their coaches and their managers, even if they've won on one occasion, the Champions League, if there's another manager who they think's better available.
Yes.
So I don't quite understand
Absolutely right. Dickie has tweeted us to say Poch is friends with the Barca chairman. He has been for years. He met with Sir Alex last season and nothing came from it.
Yeah.
Well, we're not saying anything is going to come from it.
Yeah, but that can be a cover.
Yeah.
You can always friendship is a cover. Friendship's been a cover plenty of times in our profession.
Sure.
When you say, I saw you drinking in the witness box down whichever street that is, down the side of the old News of the World. I saw you drinking in the witness box last night, and you were with the editor of the Daily Mail. We were together in America. There's nothing in it.
I was once. I'm sure this has happened to you, but this is a very funny story. Happened to me. I was once taken for a secret lunch. By the editor of the Daily Mirror when I was at the Express on the basis that they wanted to hire me to be the new news editor. And unfortunately, we went into this restaurant around the corner from the Mirror building, which was full of little cubby holes. But the guy, and you'll know who I mean, was so immense that he couldn't actually get into the cubby hole.
Okay.
So they had to sort of shoehorn him in.
Yeah.
And it made such a fuss getting into this cubby hole secretly that everybody knew we were there.
Yes.
And when we came out of the cubby hole, there was about 4 tables occupied by various different executives from the Mirror.
Yeah.
Who all asked me what I was doing there.
And he's my old mate and all that.
And it was ridiculous.
When I worked for the Express in Manchester, which is a much smaller community than Fleet Street, I got tapped up by the Daily Star. Right. I was working with the Daily Express. The Daily Star was only 2 years old, but it was massively ambitious.
Right.
And it had an editor called Lloyd Turner.
Oh, yes. Australian guy.
An Australian, absolutely. Australian, very ambitious Australian guy. He rang me at home one night, on a Saturday night, and said, it's Lloyd here, and Lloyd who, And he said, look, why don't you're off on Monday. He said, I know that because I have access to the Express rotors. I said, why don't we meet at the Holiday Inn or something in, somewhere like Jews, I don't know where it was, somewhere outside of Manchester. Yeah. And I said, why? He said, well, you better come along and I'll let you know. So I thought it must have been an above board meeting. So when I got there, I found out they were trying to ask me to sign for the Daily Star instead of the Daily Express.
All very clandestine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shocking stuff.
But I was honourable. I didn't even tell the guys at the Express that story for 2 years.
Did you not?
Yeah.
Well, that's not being honourable.
Well, it has been honourable because I could have gone back and said these guys are trying to poach me and cause civil war between the two papers. They're in adjoining newsrooms.
Yeah. Well, there must have been a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
How refreshing to hear somebody being loyal for a change.
Exactly.
This is Talk Sport.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
Now, I've got a bit of a quandary here, Mr. Parry, right?
Yes.
I've got 2 tweets. One is from Lord Rob, who says, could you please say a very happy birthday to my other half, Laura, to Laura because it's her birthday today.
Yes.
And I've also just received from somebody called Lady Laura, it's my birthday today as well. Now, I don't know whether these are the same 2 people.
Oh, it's got to be. That's too much of a coincidence.
It would be too much of a coincidence. She doesn't say how old she is,
right?
But she says, I'm slowing down a bit, she says.
Okay.
But I think she sent this in as a rejoinder to the fact that she shares a birthday with Elton John.
Oh, I see. Right.
So
okay.
I don't know whether she's the same Laura that is with Lord Rob.
Let's just say very happy birthday, okay?
Oh,
very
actually,
happy birthday.
There she is. She is with Lord Rob.
Yes,
so
okay. Excellent. Well,
and
well
look,
done, Laura.
she's got a cat. There's a picture of her there.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, I'll tell you what, that lady's no older than 21 in my view.
Is that right?
If you think
She's
you're
such
slowing
a
down,
charmer.
have a care for us. There was a note early this morning, and I took a note of it. I think the surname was Ferguson. A chap flying back from Austria, 25 years of age today.
A bloke flying back from Austria?
Yeah, didn't you see that?
I didn't see that, no.
So a chap saying, I'm coming home today, I'm flying back from Austria, but on the flight I've got a load of Two Mike's podcast to keep me happy, but I'm 25 today. Did you not see that?
I didn't see that one, no.
Okay, if your name is Ferguson...
Did you ever find out who that
eh?
57-year-old bloke was that had the birthday the other night?
No,
now, how about this from Paul? He says, are you both okay? He says, you keep agreeing with each other. Something must be wrong.
So it must be wrong there somewhere.
We'll try not to do that.
We'll try not to do that.
I beg your pardon.
Now, I want to talk to you about your dog, if you don't mind, because I'm an avid reader of all things that pertain to animals. Right?
Yes.
Now, I came across a lady who is a great writer with the Times, a lady called Carol Midgley.
I know Carol Midgley.
You know Carol? Right.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
She used to work for one of the tabloids.
She did indeed,
sure.
yeah.
Wasn't it the Mirror she used to work for?
I'm not sure, actually, but anyway, she's an outstanding journalist of that ilk. She works now for the Thunderer, which, of course, is one of the most famous newspapers in the world.
Indeed.
Now, she writes this, listen, my Labrador had been behaving oddly. Now, you know I've said to you before, you've got a Labrador.
Yes.
But it's a one-family dog, one dog family.
Yes.
Right? One dog
What,
family.
you mean we've only got one dog?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah. And obviously, I know that you take it out and walk it, and you've got two lads who are very kind and affectionate to it. But anyway, she says, my Labrador had been behaving oddly. He refused to go on walks, moped in his bed, and rolled on his back, banging his head on the floor like a
Right.
Victorian asylum patient. It looked like depression. Now, that's the first thing I thought a bit odd. How do you tell a dog's depressed?
Well, I guess if it starts rolling on the floor and not going out for a walk.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. But
Well, I suppose that'd be the first clue.
does your dog ever look depressed?
Not really. I mean, but it is interesting how you can tell if there's something wrong.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
sometimes,
Okay.
I mean, our dog, for example, has got a bit of a recurring ear problem, which is common to the breed and common to his brothers and sisters.
That's
'Cause
bad news.
when we got the dog, he just gets sore ears,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And you have to keep him clean, and you have to give him,
Sure.
little,
Put a little oil in the ear or
yeah,
something.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. But when he's not feeling particularly well,
Okay.
you can tell that he's a little more listless and,
Right.
and not as lively.
Okay. Well, anyway, so Carol must have had this same thought. She says, it looks like depression, but I didn't really want to tell anybody. I thought they might laugh at me. So I went to the vet and, I was prepared to be mocked and ridiculed. But guess what? Canine depression is a thing and it can be treated with Prozac.
Really?
Yeah.
A doggy Prozac.
Yes. No, just Prozac. It says the vet ran a battery of blood tests, but about £200 later, they came back clear. And the vet said to me, I wonder if he's just lonely.
Yeah.
So I thought about this as the dog stared vacantly at me, so I enrolled him in a dog social club. He's in
This is starting to sound a bit daft.
No, this is absolutely true. So I enrolled him in a dog social club, okay?
Right.
He's collected while I'm at work, and it's like play school, really, for your children. He's collected while I'm at work, and he's allowed to hare around a secure field
Right.
for hours and hours on end with 20 other dogs.
Huh.
The result of
So
this
I
is...
presume then from this that she has a dog which she doesn't see during the day, that she leaves the dog at home.
I think so.
Because
think so.
I mean, obviously, otherwise you wouldn't be lonely, would you?
No, exactly. That's it. Because, I mean, actually, dogs do crave human attention, don't they? Most
Right.
of the time.
Yeah, well, they do. I mean, you shouldn't really leave a dog at home all day on his own.
I agree.
mean, that's
It's
not
terrible.
a great idea.
I agree. Anyway, the result is my pet has been transformed. The spring returned to a step almost instantly. I suppose it's no different to a despondent person being urged to join a book club or something and meet new people. Anyway, dogs are more like us than we think. One happy dog has, have now resolved the problem.
Yeah, right.
You see, I've always said that. If a dog hasn't got enough doggy playmates, then he might feel lonely
Yeah.
even with human company.
But,
now,
I mean,
does your dog play with other dogs?
He plays with other dogs when he sees other dogs, which is
Where
usually
does he-
when
where
he's
does he see 'em?
when he's out for walks. Normally speaking, I mean, if I was normally probably tomorrow, I'll take him down to the beach and he'll have a very good run around on the beach. And normally there's about 3 or 4 other dogs there. Whenever you take him out for a walk around the fields where I
Yeah.
live. Usually you meet 1 or 2 dogs, and he knows the dogs as well. He also meet them sometimes up at the school gates.
Yes.
When we go up to get the kids, because a lot of people bring
But
their
isn't
dogs
there a
up there.
danger that dogs can get aggressive towards other dogs they don't know?
Well, depends on the dog really. And my dog is not aggressive. He's not an
Because
aggressive dog.
I think I told you I had a female friend once, not really a girlfriend, sort of female friend, and she had a black Labrador dog.
I thought she was a girlfriend.
Yeah, she was really, but it was
Well,
two
what-
different occasions.
What?
There were 2 different occasions.
What do you mean?
Well, this is the occasion when she was a female friend. You see what I mean? She
Oh,
had
you
this
mean
dog.
you mean when you
Yeah.
say 2 different occasions, you don't mean like 2 different times, like one
Yes.
afternoon and another afternoon.
No, I mean 2 different periods of
Oh,
time.
she was one at one time she was a girlfriend, and then after a while
That
that she was a
that sort of
friend.
thing, that
Oh,
sort of
I
thing.
see.
And used to leave the dog at home on its own. His little paws would be on the windowsill, and he'd press his nose against the window as we left in the mornings. And I used to feel terribly sorry for
Yeah.
him. But then, to make up for that, she'd take him on to Clapham Common, run around. But on one time, another dog tore his ear off.
No, God.
Well, it didn't tear it off.
Well,
but
there
I
are
mean,
some horrible dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
yeah,
there are some
yeah.
horrible dogs out
So
there.
you've got to be
and-
careful.
And you do have to be
Yeah.
careful. But that's why they have the rule that you're supposed
Yeah.
to keep them on a lead.
Yeah.
And, I mean, to be honest, unless you're absolutely sure about every other dog that's out there, you should keep him on a lead.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I try and take him to places like the beach where he can run around.
Yeah.
And where normally sort of like right-thinking and like-minded people take their dogs. And basically, if the people are nice, usually the dog's nice.
Yes,
You
but
know.
isn't there also a movement which says you've got to keep the dog off the lead because a dog on a lead is virtually a dog in a cage because it can't move away from you?
Well, yeah, but unfortunately the law states that
Yeah.
you have to keep a dog on a lead because if your dog runs off and bites a child, for example, through,
Yes.
just by accident.
Yes.
Because sometimes a dog will get overexcited.
Yes.
The dog can then be taken away and put down.
Or the dog might run into the road and
Well,
kill
exactly.
itself in front of a car,
Well,
or
exactly.
cause a car
so,
crash.
I mean, there are all
So I
sorts
agree
of
with that.
there are all sorts of things. And as far as Carol's concerned, it sounds to me as though this dog was just a bit lonely because she was leaving him at home all day.
Well, we
And
can't
as soon
accuse
as
her of that, but,
and as soon as he started doing something during the day,
Yeah.
he's a lot happier.
Yes, okay.
So she could have saved herself a few quid there.
Well, I don't think so, because I think that's nice now that she's found like a kind of social club for the dog. I didn't know such things existed.
Yeah, well, maybe we should have a word with her and see whether she
That'd be a
can
good
find
business to be in, wouldn't it?
what social club for a dog. Well, you could do that, but you're never at home though.
Well, no.
You're
but
always out doing stuff.
Find somebody to do it, couldn't you?
You could, I dare say. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and it's the warm up. Of course, we've got an extra hour coming up as well, so you get an extra bonus hour from us rather than two. You get three.
And of course, you lose an hour overnight.
You do lose an hour overnight,
Yeah.
so I guess in some ways it all balances out. doesn't it?
Exactly.
We'll have to remember to do that. Do you always remember to sort of move your clocks on, or do they all do it automatically?
I've got a confession to make.
Have you?
I got up at 2 o'clock last night and
Right.
started moving them back. I thought it was last night.
Well, don't move them back either, 'cause they go
Sorry,
forward.
move them forward.
Yeah.
So this morning I couldn't work out why half the clocks in the house said 7 o'clock
Right.
and ours said 6.
Yes.
But I did start walking around thinking I better put those clocks forward.
And then you start to wonder what the time actually is.
Yeah,
'cause
you
don't know
do.
which one's
Yeah,
right and which one's
absolutely.
wrong. Well,
Absolutely.
hopefully that's not happening at the
Yeah.
Sunday Times, because Peter Conradi is here, the foreign editor, to tell us what's coming up in the paper tomorrow. Peter, very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, Mike.
Now,
Hi, Pete.
I hope you don't have such problems with your clocks, because obviously for you guys, quite important which time that you're putting the paper
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
Well, yeah, but we put the paper to bed just before 2 a.m., I think, so it doesn't quite affect us, thankfully.
No. So what have you got coming up? We've got a couple of quite interesting breaking stories at the moment, haven't we?
Well, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Douglas Carswell.
Yeah.
I don't know, in the last few moments, he's announced that he is actually leaving UKIP.
Right.
Yes.
The party that he only joined in 2014 to become an independent. So it's getting very confusing for the people of Clacton. in the
Indeed.
space
I mean,
of a
he's
few
not
years.
he's not one for commitment, really, is he, this bloke?
No, he's not. I mean, he's going to be an independent now. Goodness knows what he's going to be next week.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's the only MP UKIP. I mean, a lot of people say that since Brexit has now been triggered, or has effectively now been triggered, that
Yeah.
there's not really any point in UKIP anymore. Is that true?
I don't know. I mean, they've obviously been hugely successful in doing that. I mean, they've got a big problem in what do they turn themselves into. I mean, are they just sort of a pressure group which is just going to kind of make sure that the government sticks to Brexit or comes up with the kind of Brexit they want, or do they kind of reinvent themselves as a new kind of party? But I think that's probably what lies behind his resignation, really. That and a big row between him and Nigel Farage.
Right.
Absolutely. Now, Pete, I wonder if your paper's taking a view one way or the other on this dreadful situation involving Khalid Massoud, or Adrian Elms, as he was born. Mike Graham, my broadcasting partner here, raised this first, actually, in the wake of this attack, and said, don't keep calling this man a terrorist. This man's an individual nutter who went bonkers and started killing
And
people.
is a criminal, effectively.
And is a criminal. And do you know what? Picking up the papers yesterday and today, some people are going with that argument. Has your paper taken a view on that?
Not yet, but I mean, it's a very good point. I mean, where is the dividing line? What point does someone become a terrorist? I mean, as you say, if you're just a nutter and you do something and you claim that you're motivated by something else,
Yeah.
that doesn't make you a terrorist. And then all you've got to do is mention the Islamist side, and suddenly you become a terrorist. Because I mean, it does seem he wasn't part of an organised conspiracy as far as we can tell. He was very much someone who was operating on his own.
That's right.
Exactly, and therefore, do we, when the terror level gets raised or heightened and all that kind of stuff, under any other name, this guy is just a man who snapped. He's a lunatic. He's killed people because he wanted to.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right, because I mean it also determines how we respond to it.
Exactly.
Do we sort of clamp down? Do we introduce all sorts of extra security measures just on the off chance that another nutter will come along and try and do the same thing.
Yeah.
But then there is the kind of the copycat effect, isn't there?
There is,
and the story that's been doing the rounds today, certainly on the back of what happened the other afternoon, I should say, in Westminster, is the security threat, isn't it? Because apparently the gates were left open at the Houses of Parliament where he ran in for quite a few minutes after the attack, which, had there been other people involved or other people wanting to come in, is not good news.
No, it's not. I mean, I think all these terror incidents or whatever, or incidents of violence like this, they always expose all sorts of questions. But I think, the fundamental underlying thing is that nowhere is 100% safe, is it? And I mean, it can't be 100% safe. So, yes, there will be sort of people will come across this failing or that failing, but what can you do?
Sure, absolutely. Have you taken a view at all, Peter, about our former Chancellor, George Osborne, now entering our profession?
Well, we journalists are a little bit upset that one of the prime jobs has been taken away from us, actually.
What, George Osborne, you mean?
A few colleagues. Sadly, I wasn't presumptuous enough to apply myself for the job, but I have a few who were very disappointed indeed.
Well, you have colleagues at the Sunday Times who were up for that job, do you?
Yeah.
I do indeed.
Really?
I would imagine.
Lots of people across Fleet Street, or what used to be called Fleet Street, who were keen on it.
Yeah, well, I guess the problem is, right, as we know from being in formerly your business, is that whenever a new editor comes along, they always invite many of their cronies to come and join them. So I don't know who George is going to bring in on the QT.
Well, not Douglas Carswell, I think.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. No, definitely
indeed.
not.
Now, what about Donald Trump? He's always good for a story, and this week he's sort of let all of his followers down by not managing to change Obamacare.
Yeah, well, he has. I mean, this was the real sort of signature policy of Trump, which was to get rid of the hated Obamacare, and he really kind of ramped it up, and just couldn't get it through Congress. I mean, they were going to have a big vote on it yesterday evening, and a few minutes before, he suddenly realised he wasn't going to get it passed and pulled back.
That's
so
humiliating,
isn't it? Made a career out of making deals and being an effective kind of deal maker.
Yeah.
Is now looking a little bit exposed.
How humiliating to have to withdraw the bill itself when you've got a majority in both houses and you're the president on a Republican ticket.
Well, it doesn't bode very well for anything else he wants to do through the Republican Party. I mean, he's finding out, basically, isn't he, Peter, that being president is not all it's cracked up to be. He thought he would become president and king of the world, and basically everyone would have to do what he said. And in fact, he's got less power now than he had when he was running the Trump Corporation.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, as you say, the key thing is that if he can't get this kind of stuff through when he's got both houses of Congress run by Republicans, what on earth would he do if he didn't even have control of those? It should be a position, that should be a position of kind of supreme power, but what you have to bear in mind in the American system is that Congress itself is very powerful, and the members of Congress are sort of independent of the presidency in a way that MPs are not here. They've got all their constituents who they've got to represent. They've got all these sort of interests they've got to represent. You've got to schmooze these people. You've got to kind of get round them and win them over. And you can't tell them. You can't just sort of whip them through like they do in the British system.
Sure. Absolutely. And do you have a view on this leg-breaking situation involving a player from my team, Seamus Coleman, last night, Peter?
Oh, well, I didn't see it, but I've read about it.
You must have seen the still pictures.
It looks horrific stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is where still pictures taken by professional press photographers are easily better than TV pictures because they capture the second, not the moment. They capture the tenth of a second, and photography in big pictures is something your paper excels upon.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously going to be going to town on it in the paper tomorrow because it was shocking. Obviously, football's a tough game, but it shouldn't be this tough, should it?
Well, yeah, you say that. It is, isn't it, unfortunately? Physical contact. Can't take physical contact out.
Can't rule it out. Anyway, we take it that we're going to be talking to a physio later on to tell us how long the recovery period is, but I imagine you'll have plenty of analysis of the recovery time as well.
We will indeed. The Sunday Times is the place to go. You want to find out the inside story behind it.
Absolutely. In everything.
Thank you very much
Thanks,
indeed. Peter Conradi there, the Sunday Times foreign editor, giving us the lowdown on what's coming up in the paper tomorrow. Now, somebody is taking your dog story not seriously enough, I think. Nick has tweeted in. He says, I had a similar problem with my dog, so I took him to the Doggy Leisure Centre, and he's now become quite efficient at squash and ping pong.
Yeah, you see, why don't people take these things more seriously?
People don't take these things seriously.
I mean, there's one here which said, is there any truth that MG's dog was on Prozac for a week after Porky visited for the weekend?
Well, especially after we heard you singing.
Yeah.
You know that there is that video of us singing, unfortunately taken quite late at night.
There was.
And just at the end, the dog sort of hoves into view.
Yeah, it
and
does,
stares
yeah,
up
it does,
at you,
yeah.
as if to say, when are you going to stop with this nonsense? You
Yeah,
know?
don't remind me about that because people still keep putting back up the rug picture of the Turbers.
I think that's a nice picture. I
Brokeback
don't know.
Mountain rug
I don't
picture
know.
sitting in front of the
I don't know
the
why
fire.
you're so concerned about that.
Yeah, well,
I think
actually,
it's very nice.
funny enough, we put a little picture out, didn't we, on Thursday night when we
Yes.
got the news that we'd won an award.
Yes.
Have we told the audience about this?
I don't think we've mentioned it.
No, what was it then?
We won an award for the IRN News Award of the Year.
We did.
For best feature,
Yes.
best programme
Yes.
on the US election
That's
special.
right. It was a 5-hour special overnight.
Yeah.
Donald Trump. It
Yeah.
changed the world, literally.
Tremendous.
And we were here for 5 hours seeing it through. We got an award for it, so
Yeah.
we're very grateful
We are
to
very, very lucky.
IRN News, supported by Sky, I think.
I
wasn't it?
believe so,
Yeah, with
yes.
the Sky. But anyway, the point is, in order to celebrate that, we had we posed in front of the
Talk
logo,
Radio
Talk
signs,
Radio
yeah.
logo, and people have commented that I look incredibly confident and
Yeah.
upright.
You look very
thumbs up and all
short,
that.
actually, in that picture.
Well, yeah, but you look rather reluctant. People have said to me, that,
Reluctant.
you're looking, and they've even tried to suggest that your clenched fist salute of victory,
Which is what it is.
is in fact the start of a curved swing
Well, you
by your
see-
fist into my head.
You see, paranoia is a terrible thing, and it'll get you in the end. I think the problem is that I'm perhaps less comfortable bigging myself up than you are, because
Well,
you've spent your entire life doing it,
nobody's-
and I don't really do that.
Nobody's bigging themselves up. The point is, it was recognition. And I must say at this point, thank you to the thousands, literally, of
Yeah.
messages we've had.
We have had a lot.
Of good wishes
Yes.
and congratulating us on that award.
Keep 'em coming.
We are very, very proud to have done it. One last thing before...
You've seen the time, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but I've got to talk about the lady who I said was 21, Lady Laura.
Yeah.
She said, yay, thank you, and then admits publicly, I'm 37
So
today.
you're now telling everyone
Well, I have
that.
to say, you are an extremely young-looking 37, Laura. Keep it up.
Yeah, steady.
Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as hoes. Yeah, but maybe.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Lots more coming up, and an extra hour coming up as well. Because normally speaking, at this time, we've only got 10 minutes left on the show.
Indeed, yeah.
So it's quite
Yeah.
luxurious to have an extra hour, isn't it?
It is absolutely
And we'll
luxurious
be talking
indeed.
to Ben Dinnery, who's an expert on
Yeah.
the physical front of the injury that Seamus Coleman has sustained.
Indeed, we
And
will.
he'll give us an idea of when he might be back.
Indeed, we will.
Yes.
Now, is Stephen Gerrard currently a member of the Liverpool coaching squad? I think he is at sort of
Well, he's at sort of
youth level, isn't
Youth
he?
level. I mean,
Yeah.
I think he's still technically training to be a coach, isn't he? Because he hasn't
Yeah,
got all
I'm
of his
sure he is,
he hasn't
yeah.
got all of his badges yet.
Yeah, but the reason I ask is because Louis Garcia,
Oh,
who
yeah.
of course was a great former teammate of
Indeed.
his at Liverpool.
Yes.
Now he's talking about something else that he's doing today in a paper, and he happens to mention that, of course, Stephen Gerrard will be a great manager of Liverpool in the future. And I don't know when these people are going to learn that this never happens,
Yeah.
and it never will happen.
Well, it's very rare, isn't it?
Ex-Red Garcia tips brilliant leader and local boy Stevie G to have a successful coaching career in ruling Anfield. It will not happen. It never happens.
Well, it hasn't happened, let's say that. But, I mean, it's not to say that it couldn't possibly happen with him. I mean, he is possibly maybe the guy that will break the mould. How
I
about
don't
that?
think so. The only time it happened, and this was in Liverpool's case as well, was Kenny Dalglish,
Yeah.
when he was still playing.
Yes.
And he had to take him out of a crisis. The crisis was the Heysel disaster.
Sure. But he did
And-
become a very good manager after
a
that,
brilliant
didn't
manager. But what I'm saying is, he was still a player when he became manager. Remarkably,
Yeah.
he was player manager and then stepped down from playing and continued. So that to me was a brilliant sort of way to ease yourself into that level of management under the pressure pot requirements of Liverpool.
But an incredibly difficult thing to do. I mean, there's
Yeah.
not many people that could have carried that off.
Well, the
I
only
mean,
thing
for
I can
example,
say-
I don't think Stephen Gerrard could have carried that off. I don't think he could have become a player manager.
The only thing I can say is that Kenny Dalglish had such a good team around him.
Yeah.
I bet they didn't really even need a manager,
Right.
to be honest. I mean, years ago, I'm sure I've told you this, and I've still got the recording. Dixie Dean, when he scored all his goals between sort of 25 and 1933, he was interviewed about 30 years ago. It was the last interview I ever did, and I've
Yeah.
got a copy of it. And he was asked, what sort of instructions when you guys were, winning league championships and FA Cups for Everton? What sort of instructions did you take from your manager? And Dixie Dean said, no. What do you mean? You took no instructions?
Yeah.
No, didn't have a manager.
Right.
What? No, we don't have a manager. No, I used to turn up at the ground, say to the lads, right, fellas, when we got changed, we get out there. I said, one of the lads will be having a cigarette in the corner. We get out there and we say, right, let's score as many goals today as we can. He said that was it.
And that was it.
They literally didn't have
I
a
suppose
manager.
it would be right to say, even when Kenny Dalglish was managing Liverpool the first time around, that it was perhaps a simpler game in the sense that, there wasn't so much corporate stuff going on. There wasn't so much money in the game.
Yeah, well...
And it maybe was just more about the football, whereas managers now have to be politicians, really, don't
Yeah,
they?
I suppose they do a bit.
In a way.
But anyway, the person who's interviewed Louis Garcia says Steven Gerrard can go on to become a great manager of Liverpool after serving his coaching apprenticeship in the club's academy. This is the view of former teammate Louis Garcia. Gerrard will step out at Anfield again today for a Liverpool Legends team.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Okay.
Against Real Madrid Legends, having left the Reds for LA Galaxy almost 2 years ago.
Right.
After hanging up his boots last November, former Anfield captain returned to Liverpool as a coach at the youth academy, so that's where he is, where his own career began. And because he made the journey from young hopeful to club legend, Garcia says he's hardly placed to reach the same heights as manager, but it just doesn't happen. I don't know why, but the qualities needed for a coach. Pep Guardiola's the only world-leading coach who's been a former player of any consequence.
Well, I suppose you might say Zinedine Zidane is doing it. I mean,
Zidane, Ronald Koeman.
Remains to be seen, I suppose.
Yeah.
Ronald Koeman's doing it.
Yeah.
So maybe the mould is changing, but also
I mean, it's never worked with an Englishman. That's what I'm saying.
No, but I think as well, it's much more difficult now. Whereas back then, as I say, it was probably more about just moving from being a captain on the field to more or less a captain in the dressing room, but there's so much more now. Even if you're Jurgen Klopp,
sure,
and you're not necessarily involved in all the internecine battles in the boardroom, you've still got to take a view on signings. You've got to work out budgets. You've got to spend money. And it's a very, very much different job, I think.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
No, I totally agree with you.
But anyway, we wish him luck. I mean,
of course we do.
Because I think the Liverpool fans would love somebody like Steven Gerrard to be the manager.
Well, of course you do. You like to have a local hero. Everybody does, I mean,
Wayne Rooney, for example, will he go into management, or what will somebody like Wayne Rooney do? He's got so much money.
Yeah.
I mean, he could pretty much do anything he wanted, couldn't he? Do you know what he is doing with his money? I mean, we know, like Gary Neville, for example, has put a lot of his money into property, into hotels, into restaurants, into buildings, blocks of flats, and all that. I mean, what's Rooney into?
Well, I don't know, but I do know he's surrounded by very good people. I mean, Wayne Rooney's life has been controlled by, well, one man really, Paul Stretford, and when I say controlled, I don't mean that as a negative. I mean as a positive. He's always had the hand of Paul Stretford on the tiller, directing him and guiding him, and that's why he's a very wealthy young man. And I'm certain that post football, he'll have equally able people, probably the same people, telling him where he might want to go next.
Yeah. David says this: Big Sam and Bolton Wanderers FC were a successful former player turned manager.
Yeah, but not on a huge level.
Well,
if you don't mind me saying.
Premier League level, which is pretty huge, isn't it?
Yes, Premier League survival and all that, but I mean, he didn't start picking up like Premier League titles and European Cups, Champions League, and all that, did he? Eh?
Oliver says this: my dog is what you need, as he barks at Arsene Wenger on the television.
Yeah.
Even though he's a toy poodle. He certainly gets plenty of attention. So, I mean, a dog that doesn't like Arsene Wenger. That's a bit harsh,
doesn't like Arsene Wenger. Here's one from Jane here, you see. So I've hit on something here. She says, doggy daycare is what the industry is now known as. It's a growing business. Many companies are offering the services. Now, why didn't we know about this? I mean, you've got a dog, but you didn't know about it.
No, I didn't. I mean, I know there are kennels where you can put the dog, which are always things that I never really want to do for any long extended period of time, because effectively you're putting the dog in a cage.
Yes.
I mean, they walk them maybe twice a day and they feed them and they see other dogs, but it's not a pleasant thing. I've not heard of doggy daycare, I have to say. Yeah. I bet it costs a fortune though.
Yeah, I should imagine it does. People do pay lots of money, don't they, to have their dog looked after properly.
Well, having a dog is quite an expensive thing to do. Food is very expensive. If you do go on holiday and you have to put them in a kennel, then the kennels are very expensive for a week or 2 weeks. And if you have to then not do that and take the dog with you on holiday, that's more expense.
Yes,
because you then have to get sort of two cars, because you can't put the dog and all the luggage in one car.
Yeah, sure.
It all starts to get very difficult.
I've been reminded that the Pochettino controversial meetings with Sir Alex Ferguson last season. It was
He did.
indeed, wasn't it? Yeah.
You did. Well, yeah, we
Yeah.
did mention that earlier.
Yeah. Is there some kind of anti-Brexit march today, which is going to tie up an awful lot of policemen?
I have heard there was going to be some kind of anti-Brexit. Wasn't there an anti-Brexit march the other day?
Yeah, last weekend.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is, at a time of heightened tension in the capital, London, is this taking place in London? And if so,
I would imagine
don't
so.
you think the anti-Brexiteers, and I'm not either pro or against, don't think they should have called it off and postponed it for a couple of weeks, because police resources at the moment are needed, very, very badly in terms of investigating what's been going on with people who drive cars on pavements
Yeah.
and kill other people.
I must say there was an awful lot of police around when I left this building on Friday morning
Yeah.
to head down to Sussex. I've never seen so many police cars at
No.
that time in the morning.
No.
You know?
Hey,
There's
by the
a
way-
very, very heightened and increased sense of security going on.
Definitely. Did you see these new vehicles the police have brought out now?
Oh,
to-
these kind of armoured car type things.
They look like your car.
A little bit, but a little bit more armoured.
No, they look exactly like your car. They're called.
Aren't they a bit more sort of tank-like, though?
Well, they're
A bit more
7.5
armoured cars,
tons.
Yeah.
7.5 tons.
Right.
Yankel Guardians, apparently. Two of the Metropolitan Police's. Oh, they've got 13 of them, by the
Right.
way, and they cost £175,000 each. Yankel Guardians parked off Parliament Square yesterday. Hundreds of extra firearm officers stationed across the country. God knows why people are marching and protesting. But these have got. Now I could get a couple of these. Actually, they've got bulletproof tyres.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what
Yeah,
you need.
yeah, exactly.
That would do you very,
Yeah.
very well, actually.
Yeah.
Although you haven't had a puncture for about a week now, so I mean, things are on the look.
Yes,
Things
yeah.
are looking up.
What you want, baby, I got it. What you need, you know I got it. All I'm asking is for a little respect when you come home. Just a little bit, hey, baby, just a little bit. Just a little bit, mister, just a little bit. I ain't gonna do you wrong while you're gone. I ain't gonna do you wrong 'cause I don't wanna. All I'm asking is for a little respect, just a little bit.
I'd like a bit of Aretha Franklin to get you going in the afternoon.
Well,
It's
believe
not
it-
her birthday as well, is it?
It is her birthday.
Is it?
Yeah, it is her birthday.
Blimey.
Yeah. You have to watch these things, you see.
Aretha Franklin and Elton John.
Yeah,
and Laura,
And Laura,
who's 37.
Yeah, all on the same day.
Yeah.
And Aretha Franklin, I think, is a bit older than Elton
I
John.
would think she would
Just
be,
trying
yeah.
to find out how old she,
She
is.
was
actually.
Whitney Houston's auntie, wasn't she?
Was she?
Yeah.
Is that
Pretty
right?
sure she was, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how old she is. Hang on, let me see.
I would
here.
think she'd be closer to 80.
Yeah, I think she probably is. Let me
Yeah.
see.
Are you saying that you had prepared a piece of music
yeah.
to announce her birthday,
Yeah.
but you haven't actually checked how old she is?
Yeah,
appalling.
of course I did.
It's a shocking thing.
Here, she is 75.
75?
Yeah.
Okay, so not that much older than Elton.
Now, it says here her most famous song is I Say a Little Prayer.
Say a little prayer, yes.
Is that I Say a Little Prayer
Yeah.
for you?
In
the
the
moment I
morning.
wake
That's
up.
the one. Yeah, exactly, yeah. That's the one.
I
rather
thought
you
it was a
didn't sing
terrible
that.
second line, actually.
Why?
The moment I wake
when
up.
I put on my makeup.
Then
That's
I
a great
put on
line.
my makeup. It's not.
Why? It's a fantastic line because then you have a picture of this woman
Yeah.
getting out of bed, standing in front of the mirror, putting on her makeup, and then saying a little prayer.
Yeah, say a little prayer for
you.
For you. Now, am I right in thinking that as we move towards the spring and the summer,
Yeah.
you will again be boasting ridiculously that you play tennis?
Well, you know, I will not be boasting that I play tennis. What I did last year was that my two sons actually take tennis lessons every Thursday, right? And because my older son is getting a bit cheeky, because he's now 12,
Right,
and
yeah.
he's turning
So does he
into,
call you fat and all that kind of stuff?
He does not. He does not call me fat. No, he's not an
Right.
offensive child.
Oh, yeah?
But he's a bit cheeky.
Well, he-
so he
well,
makes fun of me at times, but he manages to do it
I
in
bet
a
he
nice
makes
way.
fun of your weight.
No, he doesn't actually.
Well, he should do,
Well, you
shouldn't
see,
he?
the difference between you and him is
Yeah.
that he does it in a way which is rather endearing.
Endearing,
You do it in a
yeah.
way which is
Hey,
actually.
Daddy, you're a fat slob.
You
Is that
see,
endearing?
you know nothing about childhood, really, do you? I mean, that proves it.
Well,
I
I
mean,
was
he's
a
not-
child once myself.
I don't
so
believe that.
I
actually.
do have some experience.
I don't believe that. I think you were sort of born as a grown man,
Yeah,
and I can't
rubbish.
imagine you as a child at all because you're too cynical
Yeah.
and you're too kind of horrible,
Yeah.
basically. But
I certainly was a child with an adult's view on life, if that's what you're trying
well,
to
that's
say.
what
yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so he got to the point where he said, I could beat you at tennis, right? This was last year.
All right, okay.
And I said, okay, well,
And
I'll tell you
had
what.
he been taking lessons by then?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
He's been taking lessons
Okay.
for about a year and a bit now.
Right.
And I said, well, I used to play a bit of tennis. I said, I haven't played for many a year, as you well know. I said, I'll give you a game.
Right.
And so I did give him a game at one of the local public courts not far from us.
Right.
And I beat him.
You beat
We
him.
played one set. And I was amazed at the fact that I could, even hit the ball.
I was going to say, how did you feel at the end of that tennis match? I bet you were knackered,
No,
weren't
I
you?
felt all right, actually.
You're still smoking in those days.
I was still smoking.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a smoke in
People
between...
say, by the way, you've got terribly irritable since
Some
you've given
people
up
are
smoking.
saying that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not, because it's difficult for me to gauge it. But you know, I'm sure that will wear off if that's in fact the case.
Yeah.
So I imagine he will want to play me again this year.
Well-
Only this year he'll be that much better, and I'll possibly be that much worse.
Surely he'll just play his brother this year, as they're both grown like a year older.
Oh, no.
There'd be a good match against each other, wouldn't they?
No, because he's like me. He likes to have a bit of competition, so
Right,
he
okay.
will want to beat me.
Yeah.
And he will keep playing me until he beats me.
Okay. I mention this for two reasons.
Yeah.
First of all, I've come across a piece this morning to say that Jorn Borg's son is about to enter the tennis world.
Oh,
right?
is he? How old is he then? Because you've got to be pretty young to enter the tennis world these days, haven't you?
He's 13.
Yeah, so you wonder if that's
So-
a bit
so-
old. I mean, I know this
so-
sounds ridiculous, but
Yeah.
you wonder if that's a bit old.
Leo Borg, right?
Yeah.
13. He'll be seen on screen later this year in a feature film with his father. And the film, sorry, it's, you know...
So he's going to be in a film.
Did you tell me... Was it last night you were watching the Senna thing? With
I
your
was watching the
boys?
Senna thing, yeah.
Well, apparently there's one coming out on Jorn Borg and McEnroe.
Okay.
The rivalry.
Yes.
Right, same sort of thing.
Yeah.
But Borg's son is going to play a young Borg
I
within
see.
that sort of dramatic
Right, okay.
reconstruction. You know what I mean?
So he's an actor then?
No. He's very much a tennis player.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, very much a tennis player.
Okay.
He was at Wimbledon for the 12 to 14-year-olds. What's this? Hang on. He's just starred at the prestigious Les Petites As tournament.
Les Petites As?
Les Petites As. It's called the Les Petites As. I don't know why.
Okay.
In France. What's funny about that?
Well, it's just the way you said it. How do you spell that?
A-S.
A-S?
Yeah, it's not ass. As
Well,
in
it sounded
A-double-S.
like that.
No.
It's a family show, you know.
Les Petites As, yeah. In France this year, the Wimbledon 12 to 14-year-old mobbed by kids and adults asking for autographs and photos because
Right.
he looks so like his father.
Really? That must be eerie.
Yeah.
Have you got a picture of him there?
I've got a
Because,
picture
I
of
mean,
it.
I
I'll
wonder
show
if
you.
he's got the same kind of long, blonde, flowing locks. Yeah, he doesn't look that much like... I suppose he looks a bit more like Stefan Edberg, actually.
Yeah, he does. I totally agree.
You know?
Anyway, it says here he is the son of Bjorn and the Swede's third wife, Patricia.
Okay.
So that's why he explains about Jorn Borg being so much older, obviously.
Yes, yeah.
I didn't expect it to be like this. Back in Sweden, people are quite cool, says Leo.
Yes.
So in Sweden, everybody treats him as like normal.
Just
and,
normal,
and here,
yeah.
and here he's got his own fan club and
Well,
all
I mean,
that.
Bjorn Borg was an extraordinary sort of athlete, wasn't he? Because he never really looked like he was ever trying.
No.
He was one of those tennis players that seemed to just stroll around and never appeared to break. So he was a bit like Federer, only more so. He never really looked like he was in any trouble at all.
I mean, the Borg thing is sensational because although we revere him in this country for 5 consecutive Wimbledons,
Yeah.
he also won the French Open 6 times.
Right.
But he never won Australia or
Did he not?
America. No, apparently.
Right.
But anyway, look, that's one aspect of it. Now,
Yeah.
what I was going to say is, if you start playing with your boys,
Yes.
I have come across a way to help your lads stop you cheating.
I don't cheat.
I bet you do.
No, I don't.
Of course you do.
No. I mean, there is only
Because
one
you're their
person.
father, you can say,
No.
that ball was in.
No, but I wouldn't do that.
Oh,
you
yes,
see.
you would.
You see the difference
I know
again.
you- I know you would.
No, again, the difference between you and I is that you will always seek an advantage, whether it's an unfair advantage or not.
Not over my own blood, flesh and blood.
Yeah, of course you would.
No, I would.
You would win at any cost, right? And you would quite happily cheat. I mean, it's a bit like if you were playing golf, you know, and when you play golf with people, you can get a very good idea of their character, right?
Yeah.
Because if you cheat at golf, you're basically cheating yourself. There's no point in cheating at golf.
Really?
Because you make yourself
I've never
seem...
cheated at golf anyway.
Well, I bet you would, though.
No.
And if you're never really a serious golfer, were you?
What do you mean?
You were never really a proper serious golfer.
You were never a serious golfer.
Of course I was. I was a member of 4 golf clubs.
Oh, yeah, all right, fine, yeah. And then you became a professional, did you?
I played to a handicap of 9, yeah.
Handicap of
I
9.
did, actually. I'd take you on any day you like. And I haven't played golf for about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, well,
I was a pretty decent golfer.
Let's stick to tennis for a moment.
But
So
let's-
anyway, I'm
all right.
saying that you have a propensity to cheat because you don't show
But that is a calumny,
yourself.
and I'm not going to accept it. You
Now
see.
then.
You're saying I'm a cheat. I'm not a cheat. I've never cheated anything in my life.
Right, what I thought I might buy your boys
Yeah.
to make sure it doesn't happen
Uh-huh.
is a system which is as good as Hawkeye, which cost millions and millions of pounds to develop, right?
That seems a bit expensive, though.
No, let me tell you, the Hawkeye system costs tens of millions of pounds to develop, and
Right.
it costs it's very expensive to install in places like Wimbledon.
Yes.
But it is absolutely perfect for telling whether the ball's in or out. So
Yes.
you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
Right. a Frenchman has invented a box which you can put on top of the net.
Right, it's a boîte.
A what?
Boîte. It's a French word for box. It's a boîte. Sorry.
It's a box.
Yeah, but it's a boîte because he's French.
It's called a box.
Okay.
And it's called the... Whatever French is for in and out, it's called the in-out system, okay? Yeah, right?
I wonder what that would be, actually.
Yeah, and guess how much it costs?
I don't know, 100 quid.
£149.
Oh, that was quite a good guess.
£149. Now, this has been invented by a guy called Gregory Gentil.
Gregory.
Yeah, and he's invented this, and they're being snapped up all over the world.
I'm not surprised, because that's a very valuable thing to have. So does it basically sort of beep when the ball's out or something?
Let me see. It flashes a light. What you do is you stick it on top of the net post.
Right.
It's equipped with 2 video cameras looking in different directions.
Right.
And covering both sides of the court.
Right.
The system maps the white lines of the court and tracks the ball.
Well, that's no good, though, if you're just playing against another guy and you haven't got an umpire. I mean, who's going to look at the screen? And where is the screen?
No, the screen's inside the computer. You don't see the screen. It's the computer has the screen.
Right.
And therefore can measure where the ball's going at all times.
But, I mean, is this something that you would then use on occasions of a dispute? Or would you use
No,
it?
you use it in every game. And then there is no dispute.
Yeah, but how do you know the ball's in or out?
Because it bleeps if
Oh,
the
it
ball's
does.
in or bleeps if it's out, depending which way you set
Makes
it.
a different sound.
Yeah.
All right.
So it works on outdoor and indoor courts,
Right.
but you have to have decent lighting. That's the only thing, because it picks up on light.
Yes.
Once it's attached, users press a button to calibrate the gadget to the court's lines.
Right.
After a few seconds, it is ready to signal whether close calls are in or out with a flashing green or red light,
Right.
or you can turn it to a beep.
I think a beep would be better, because if you're playing in sort of strong sunlight, for example, which a lot of people will be, you really can't see anything.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to see a light, would you?
Right, now this is why I thought it might relate to you.
Yeah.
Mr. Gentil, who is an inventor and keen tennis player, lives in California, where he invents lots of things, right?
Okay, what else does he invent?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, maybe he's invented a machine to make croissants or something like that.
You say maybe?
Well, maybe, because he's French,
Peut-être.
isn't he? Yeah. Well, there's my croissant
croissant
machine.
boîte.
Yeah. Maybe he's invented a machine that makes like 100 croissants a minute or something like that.
Very possibly.
But anyway, it says, playing with his teenage son back in his native Paris, he was determined to try and get over the fact that there were rows all the time about decisions on line calls.
Right.
He said, Bill Gates' vision was to put a PC in every living room. Mine is to put an in-out device in every tennis player's bag, which he takes with him to wherever he's playing as his defence against erroneous line calls.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a terrific idea, and as long as it's a fail-safe system and it works properly, then I imagine he's going to make an awful lot of money.
Yeah.
See, there's another opportunity missed for you.
Anybody who wanted to install any semblance of a Hawkeye system in their back garden tennis court would start at £58,000.
Wow.
This costs 149 quid.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's a brilliant invention. Brilliant invention. A little bit middle class, but nevertheless very valuable.
What do you mean, middle class? What's middle class about it?
Middle class people play tennis, don't they?
Hang on, we've got 2 courts next to TalkSport Towers here,
Yeah.
and kids and everybody else plays on it. If necessary,
No.
out of the goodness of my heart, I would buy those kids a £149
No,
machine.
the kids are playing football. You know, you see the people that play tennis are middle class people playing tennis.
Rubbish.
They are.
It's for the working classes.
What, you think Southwark's a working class town?
Yeah, I
do you?
do, yeah.
What nonsense.
How long has this been going on?
Now, in the old show, which is only 2 hours long,
Yeah.
we would have done this a bit earlier.
Probably.
But because we had 3 hours, we've decided to do it a little bit later.
Yes.
Also, because there's plenty more to moan about, I suppose, now we've been sitting here for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Are you ready to do a 1-minute moan?
Can I moan about you, or is that
You
not
can.
allowed?
Yeah, I think that's entirely appropriate.
No, I'm not going to.
No, you
just,
can if
no,
you want.
No, just satisfy your ego. No, I'm not going to.
No, I think you should.
No,
it
I'm not
might
going
make you
to.
feel better.
No, I'm not going to.
We can
I am
reveal that
ready-
you're not
I-
very happy with me at the moment, are you?
No, I'm not unhappy with you. I'm never very happy with you.
No, I know.
I'm not unhappy.
I
There's
know.
no problem there.
I think it's the smoking is causing me to be
Well,
more
I
irritable.
think it has.
And I think-
it has warped your personality.
I think it may have done, and
Yeah,
I think you know it's time for us to recognise that,
Yeah.
and it's time for us all to sort of join hands and try and work together with it.
Oh
with it.
yeah, let's have a happy
You know,
clappy session
I
here
think-
at TalkSport
I think
Towers.
that's what we should do.
You mad? Come on, let's get on with this.
Okay, well, are you ready to do a 1-minute moan
Yes,
or something
I am.
else then? Okay, would
Yeah.
you please start the clock?
Right, I'm extremely worried and concerned, and I'm going to campaign against the reintroduction of beavers into this country. It is something...
What?
It is something that cannot happen. All over the country, farmers are applying for licences, authorities are applying for licences. Naturalists in Wales have applied for permits to release 10 pairs of beavers in Carmarthenshire, while beavers in Scotland are being granted native species status because they've had trials in Argyll. You know what'll happen?
No.
These huge, great animals will go around chewing trees until they fall down.
Yeah.
Making dams. I mean, the Devon Wildlife Trust, OK, they tell me, because I've spoken to them, farmers' biggest concern is that beavers will become a protected species. They're going to be accepted by landowners. They have to have clear mechanisms for managing the conflict between nature and these beavers. We cannot introduce beavers back into the environment in this country because they block up rivers. They take water away.
But
They
surely
chew
they're
down
already here,
trees.
aren't they? Aren't they already here?
No. There are only a few of them. We don't want any more. No more beavers.
No more beavers. Well, I don't think I can compete with that, to be honest.
I don't think you can.
I'm going to have a go, but
Well,
to be honest...
I take this 1 minute round extremely seriously.
I know.
I don't come up
You
with
know,
something in the last half hour before we go on air.
At the moment, it's 9-3 to me, so maybe you'll catch up and make it 9-4. Would you like to... I know that this is when you always sit back and forget that I have to do one as well.
Yeah, OK. Yeah, well,
Would you like to,
I sit back in the glow of knowing that I've done a great job.
Yeah, that was
Right.
outstanding, actually.
OK, are you ready?
Yes.
OK, let the clock go.
Now, my moan this week is about money, right? Because not because I haven't got enough money.
Oh, and
not
you always
because,
accuse me
not,
about
not
it,
because I want more money, but because they're introducing a new £1 coin. Now, apparently this £1 coin has got 12 sides. Apparently this £1 coin is going to wreak all sorts of havoc across the nation because some people are ready for it and some people are not. Now, I don't understand why they're introducing a new £1 coin. They claim it's because there's so many counterfeit £1 coins in existence.
Yeah.
And they say that if you've got £10 coins in your pocket, at least one of them is fake.
Yeah.
I don't really care whether one of them is fake. I'm quite happy with the £1 coins we've already got. Apparently now when you go to Tesco's, if you want to get yourself a trolley for £1, they're all going to be free because they haven't been able to organise themselves to actually get 2 slots
They've
for
got a
one
big
for the new
problem
pound.
there.
Well, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why we have to keep doing it. It's going to cost us a load of money, right? It's not going to make it any safer or any less secure or more secure because the contraband people will just make fake ones anyway.
Yeah.
I just think it's completely and utterly unnecessary. I say keep the old pound and refuse to take the new one. That's my
Right, is
1
that
minute
it?
moan, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was largely pointless because
Pointless.
Well,
You're not the judge of it, though.
Yeah, but hang on.
Beavers, around about beavers is largely pointless as well.
No, that affects the whole country. It affects the environment. It affects people's livelihoods. It affects farmers. But you know that we're not going to stick with the old £1 coin.
But I'm moaning about it.
So, yeah, but
I'm
sorry.
moaning about it.
Well,
you also know that your moan about introducing beavers is also going to fail because they're going to reintroduce them.
No. I'm starting an actively campaigning movement.
You're campaigning to kick the beavers out.
I want to kick the beavers out. The beavers are shocking things. They're vermin.
Like everything else.
Get rid of them.
It'll be another failed campaign. Anyway, Dave Levine is the producer today. He will decide and he will tell one of us.
Better get it right.
He will tell one of us after this next part of the show who's won.
Good.
I don't know what this song's all about, but I suspect it's the guys behind the glass trying to make us kiss and make up.
What?
Somebody sent me a picture of a beaver.
Oh, I didn't realise we'd fallen out.
Eh?
I thought it was just a normal show.
Someone sent me a picture of a beaver. No.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
They're beautiful, aren't they?
No, they're ugly creatures,
No,
I
they're
think.
lovely.
Ugly, big teeth. They go around gnawing trees, you know. You let beavers into this country again, they won't stop at trees. They'll start eating anything that's wood. You'll come out one morning, your house there in the country, and half your shed will have gone, believe me.
Kirk says not seeing a
Believe me.
beaver for years has made Porky forget how cute they are.
No, they're not cute. No. They're predators. But the only thing is, most predators go after something live.
Yeah.
They don't. They go after trees
Well-
and wooden sheds and that kind of stuff. You know, you've got to be very careful.
Somebody calling himself The Power says Porky's a storyteller, a mind of fact, top pork scratchings brand ambassador.
Yeah.
Old MG laughs. Porky says, I'm sorry, what's your problem?
Yeah, exactly.
Dickie
Yeah,
says, that's
what
an
is your
easy
problem?
win for MG, that. The nature-hating Porky is a loser.
No, it's not. I mean, there's a ridiculous ramble that you went on about the 12-sided
We
coin.
don't need to spend more money on money. What's the point?
We've known about...
Nobody needs money anymore. We should be doing away with cash altogether.
But you said, even in your moan, you
Yeah.
illustrated the problem that is current, and that is that 10% of all the pound coins in circulation are false,
Yeah.
and the new one you cannot imitate.
Well, no, of course you
because
will.
you know what? It's
They
got
always say that.
holistic. It's got metal holistic.
Holistic?
Yeah, holistic.
Sure, it's holistic.
Codes on it. Yeah.
Do you mean holograms?
Yeah, that's holistic.
Well, holistic is like a healing thing all in one.
Yeah, no, what's the thing you put on the side of a building?
Eh?
It's a hologram. They're
hologram.
hologrammic.
Yeah,
They're
holographic.
hologrammic, and they are. And for that reason...
I think you mean holographic.
Holographic,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I mean.
Here's
And-
one from Rob here.
Yeah.
Listen to this. When Porky does his 1 minute moan, it should be called the 1 minute yell. I have to turn the bloody volume down. He
Well,
says.
I'm sorry, but you have to understand that the volume by which I express an opinion is the seriousness with which I take it.
Yes.
And if I'm a bit more shrill, it means there's a very serious problem that other people should be
sure
aware
there
of,
is. Mark.
and not just me.
Mark has issued a warning to all other motorists. He says, never drive while listening to Porky having his 1 minute moan.
Is that right?
Because I think he nearly crashed his car.
Anyway, when are we getting the result of this? What's that lazy?
Well, I'm waiting to hear from the producer.
a
Because
lazy
he's going to
git of
supposedly...
a producer doing. He doesn't
Well,
seem
he's
to do
supposed
much
to-
else. Is he
he's-
going to come with the verdict or what?
He was supposed to whisper in somebody's ear.
Yeah. He hasn't whispered in my
Well, he
ear.
hasn't whispered in my ear either.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, so maybe neither one of us have won.
Yeah.
Lewis says, the Beavers are shocking. I'm dead. Best 1 minute moan ever.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mick says, very wine boxes, street winos blow up the bag, use it as a pillow and sleep it off.
No.
He says he swears that's true.
What, like a pig's bladder for a
Yeah,
football?
that can't be right, can it?
No,
They're
not
tiny.
big.
Well, I suppose
Yeah,
if you get a
exactly.
big one.
I suppose so.
I mean, you can still buy them in
Yeah.
supermarkets. They still do wine boxes.
Oh, they've had a resurgence in the last few years. But I mean, you know, when we were all like young reporters on the Express and all that, literally, none of us worked Saturdays because we worked for the Daily Express.
Right. Weren't you one of those people that did a shift on a Sunday, though?
Well, we'd given that up by then. We were getting paid enough, and felt ourselves big enough in the profession not to have to go and freelance on a Saturday. So, of course, as we never put a paper out on Sunday, nobody worked on Saturday. So we used to go off down to Walton-on-Thames or somewhere like that, hire a couple of boats, go down the River Thames.
Really?
Yeah. And then, they all like...
Terrible thought, that is. How many of you?
Oh, maybe 10.
I bet you were in a right old state
Maybe
by the
10.
end of the afternoon.
Oh, I fell in twice trying to get back because I, on one occasion...
Didn't they sort of see through this charade that you were actually just going out on boats to get drunk and then suddenly stopped renting them
That's
to you?
exactly what we were doing. But we used to go down the river where you could sort of moor your boat.
Yeah.
And then, believe it or not, the girls used to bring like blankets and things. You put them down on the...
You sure you can tell the rest of this story?
Yeah, on the
Family
meadow.
show.
And we're all supposed to sit there and have a picnic. But in fact, nobody ever wanted any food. We just drunk all this fantastic wine out
Did
of
they
these
have those kind
boxes.
of, when I don't know if you've ever been on the Serpentine,
Yeah.
those kind of islands that you can find yourself on?
Yeah, there were those around, yeah. But
In the middle of the river.
Where I used to go wrong was mooring the boats once, so bladderated. I said to... And unfortunately, my mate was more bladderated than me, so he was trying to get his boat in. So I said, "Throw me your rope." So he sent me the rope. So I wrapped the rope round my wrist, to haul his boat in.
Right.
And I said, "Okay, gently." Then the idiot put the boat into reverse. No, seriously. And the boat was going out.
Right.
And of course, I was stop.
and you were tied
so
to
then, what happened then is, I thought I don't want to get wet, because so I leapt forward onto the front of the boat and went belly flop on the boat. Which made the back of the boat come right up in the air, and I then slid off the front of the boat. It
You're
smashed
lucky
down.
that you didn't have to pay large damages to these people.
You're absolutely right, because the wave that was then created by the boat smashing up in the air and smashing down again nearly sunk the two boats on either side.
I'm surprised you weren't banned.
It was a complete fiasco.
Generally speaking, I once rented a boat in Torquay when I was a teenager, and I went with one of my first girlfriends down there for the weekend, and I rented one of these motorboats, and I didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah, but Torquay's on the sea. I didn't know you could get motorboats on
the
the sea.
and there's actually, sorry, it wasn't Torquay, it was Loo in
Oh,
Cornwall.
Loo, yeah.
And there was a river that led out into the sea.
Yeah, I know that, the Tamar. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
I mean, it's a lovely little town down in
right,
Cornwall. And I took this boat out, and I took it around the sort of cove, and somehow managed to run it aground.
Yeah.
So not only did it have a big hole in the bottom, start letting water in, but the motor, which was through the bottom of the boat, was busted as well. So I had to drift back in.
Yeah.
And we sort of drifted just as we got back to where the guy was renting the boats out.
Yes.
The thing was practically underwater.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And he had to rescue us, and he tried to make me pay for the boat.
Yeah.
And I was about 17. I didn't have any money.
No,
I
exactly.
said, I can't pay for the boat. I haven't got any money.
No.
He said, how much money have you got? I said, I've got about 20 quid.
Yeah, give me that.
He said, give me that. I said, I can't. That's the only money I've got.
Yeah, exactly. Do a
Ridiculous.
runner. I once also fell in the water in a lock when we got another boat somewhere else. And do you know why?
This is not putting you in a good light as far as seafaring goes.
No, it's not, because I thought I'd show off, actually. I was with a new girlfriend.
Yeah, of course.
So what I did was, as the boat was going down, because the water was going out the lock, right? I said, oh, come on, we'll just nip ashore. And she said, how? I said, oh, come on, grab a rope. I said, we can scale up here. So I grabbed the rope, but I didn't realise that most of the time the rope's underwater and it was literally covered in slime. So there was no grip on the rope at all.
Right.
And it was like watching a monkey on a stick. I grabbed the rope and then realised, and I looked round at her, and as I disappeared back down past the boat,
Right.
she very kindly took my glasses off before I sunk into the water.
I'm surprised you have to be rescued.
Yeah, exactly.
Shocking. Now, I've got a tweet here from Minor who says, I've just bought a sofa from Porky's Furniture Store. Great service, quality sofa.
There you
Thanks
go.
for the tip. I'm not going to say which one it was because we don't want to give them a free advert.
Isn't it the one with York in the
Well,
title?
hang on. I didn't want to give the name out, but it reminds me that you were supposed to be getting some upholstery done.
Yes.
So let's have an update on the upholstered chair.
No, there's no update.
And you know, I was saying, I for the life of me, I can't think of the song.
Yeah.
The song is Dead Flowers,
Dead flowers.
you know,
what's
by the
that?
Rolling Stones.
No, what's
When
that,
you're
what's
sitting
that
there,
got to do with upholstery?
well, when you're sitting there in your silk upholstered chair is one of the lines in the song.
When you're sitting there, what?
When you're sitting there in your silk upholstered chair,
Oh, I don't know that one.
talking
sorry.
to some rich folk that you know.
Listen, I tell you what, it's interesting. Jackie Beltrao, a great colleague of ours
Yes.
on Sky News, has put out a lovely little video of her dog bouncing around on a heath. I'm not sure where. But it just shows you how dogs can interact, because one little dog bounds away and goes and finds another little dog. So I think what she's doing is making it clear to all that doggies do need friends. you
Oh,
see.
right. Is she listening to the show?
I've no idea, but
Right.
I mean, if she is, I hope she is in good faith.
Now, I've just had a communique from the producer.
Oh, why do you get it? Why don't I?
Because it came to the winner, right? But
Yeah.
the communique is an interesting one because
Yes.
he said actually he was on the point of giving it to you.
Yes.
Just before you called him a lazy git.
Oh, I
So
see,
he then
right, yeah,
decided.
yeah.
So he then decided to give it to me.
Well, hang
so
on.
I'm afraid you've scuppered yourself.
No, judges should be incorruptible. They shouldn't
Well, yeah,
care
but,
about
yeah, but
what
therefore,
people say
yeah,
about
but
them.
since you've been in contempt of the judge,
So
technically
it's
speaking,
personal prejudice, yeah?
yeah. So he would have given it to you because he
Yeah.
said yours was far funnier than mine.
Yes.
But unfortunately, due to your foul abuse of him,
Yes.
he's given it to me by default.
Yeah.
So it's now 10-3.
Yeah, well, I'm taking no notice of that. I've got a picture here. Now,
Yeah.
John Sims is a good friend of ours and a great Spurs
Big
fan.
Spurs
okay?
fan, yeah.
And he sent me something which I've only just found, but he's got a picture of two professional footballers,
Yeah.
and it says listening to legends. Now, I'm not sure whether he means he's listening to us and calling us legends, which
Right.
I'd be very happy about,
Right.
or whether it's Clive Allen and is it Ray Parlour?
Yeah, I don't think he's talking about us. Only you would think that he's talking about us because
Yeah.
he hasn't sent it to the two mics, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like, it looks like Ray Parlour
And Clive Allen.
and Clive Allen. Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, you know.
He must be in the Legends Lounge at Spurs or something.
Well, obviously it's not today, so and the FA Cup's there. Must be some.
well, there might be
some
something.
been
No,
to.
but maybe there is something going on there today.
Spurs don't. Yeah, well, it could be. Yeah. Okay. Well, John, thanks anyway. Good to know that you're.
I mean, normally speaking, you would have.
you're
would have been-
legend bound.
if he was listening to Legends and it was us, he would probably have addressed it to the two mics, wouldn't he?
Well, he sent it to us
But it's
anyway.
very-
Or we got it somehow.
But it's
yeah.
very well. You got it because you follow him on Twitter.
Do
That's
I-
how you've got it.
Yeah,
well, I presume you do.
I think I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, probably right. Yeah.
But I mean, people will not be surprised that only you could come up with something like that. That you think because he's put the word legends in and listening that he's listening to our show.
Well, that's my natural assumption. So I
course.
saw a picture of two former very successful
Now,
professional footballers.
we haven't got any time left, but we've just got enough time to say that we will be back at 10 o'clock on Monday morning.
We certainly will. The mid-morning
the
show.
mid-morning show next week. Don't miss it. 10
Please
till
don't
1.
miss it.
We will have loads of great guests and we will have
certainly
loads of great subjects to talk about.
We
and
certainly will.
we'll find out what happened to Porky's chair.
Yeah, definitely.
See you on Monday.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The warm-up with the two mics on Talk Sport.
Camel dung, mate.
Yeah.